Hello everyone, Ellie here. Let's dive into grammar today. The topic is relative clauses. 1. Defining relative clause. We use defining relative clauses to give essential information about a noun in a sentence. Defining relative clauses tell us which person or thing we are talking about. Oh, look, I think that's the girl Harry is dating. I think that's the park where my parents met. 2. We don't use commas before or after defining relative clauses. We can use that instead of words who or which. Oktoberfest is a festival that or which is held annually in Munich, Germany. 3. We can omit the relative pronoun when it is the object of the relative clause. The soup Jason usually orders is no longer on the menu. We omit which or that in this sentence. Relative pronouns. 4. We use relative pronouns in relative clauses. We use who or that for people, which or that for things, whose for possession, when for time, and where for place. Mr. Lewis is a science teacher who taught us at school. Mr. Lewis is a science teacher whose classes I enjoyed most of all at school. Science laboratory is the place where I fell in love with biology. 5. We can also use whose to refer to cities, countries, and other nouns which suggest a group of people. This is the country whose cuisine Jeffrey fell in love with. This is the team whose ambitions are phenomenal. 6. We omit nouns or pronouns which have been replaced by the relative pronoun. Laura is someone who I know well. Non-defining relative clause 7. We use non-defining relative clauses to give extra or non-essential information. The song, which they have recorded just for fun, became viral and they are going to work on a full album. 8. We use commas to separate this clause from the rest of the sentence. We cannot use that instead of who or which in non-defining relative clauses. An album, which they released shortly after recording their first song, was an absolute blast. Not an album that they released shortly after recording their first song was an absolute blast. We cannot omit the relative pronoun. The Europa Park, which we visited 2 years ago, is located in Germany. Not the Europa Park we visited 2 years ago is located in Germany. We can use which to refer to the whole of a previous clause. They caught a cold, which meant they could not go ice skating. Prepositions in relative clauses 11. In informal English, prepositions usually come at the end of a relative clause. Pistachio is the nut which my cousin Francis cannot live without. This is the poem which he is most famous for. 12. In formal written English, prepositions often come before the relative pronoun. For people, we use whom, not who, after the preposition. Formal English, she's the person to whom I have called. Informal English, she's the person who I have called to. 13. Where can be replaced by which in informal English. In more formal English, we use in which, informal English. The bag which I put my sunglasses in is on the chest of drawers. Formal English. The bag in which I put my sunglasses is on the chest of drawers. What is your country most famous for? Leave a comment. Stay tuned.